So I'm texting you over the weekend and about coming on, and you had said that you noticed a lot of drop passes, and just in that
Sure.
text, I took a lot from that because I talked to Fred White on that Sunday show with Fred, and Fred said they were drop passes. I thought they were inaccurate passes, but you guys played way more football than me. Why why did you guys both choose drop passes as opposed to maybe a little bit of both?
Well, and I'll say this: when the ball touches a wide receiver's hand, that's what you get paid to do as a wide receiver, catch the football. So, not every ball is going to be perfect, right? Peyton Manning threw the worst deep ball in college football history, but he's one of the best football players to ever play. Let's just call it how it is. I mean, his ball was never a spiral. It was just a kind of a wobblier ball every once in a while. You go back and look at it and you'll see as a college football player, he didn't throw a very good deep ball. Um, I think Mr. Milton, shoot, buddy, he's a freaking player. He's a gunslinger. He can freaking sling it. And it sounds different when it leaves his hands, right? And it does take some receivers some time to get used to that. But at the end of the day, your job is to catch the football. And if it touches your hands, it should be called. Where I was standing in the first quarter, there was about 3 drop balls right in front of me from the field. Hit them dead square in the hands, about chest high, so the ball right in their face. You know what I mean? That's just not acceptable for wide receiver play. And I'm sure the wide receivers coach is letting them know about that. And, you know what I mean? And rightfully so. But I will say this, you're going to hear me say, hey, I believe there are drops, but I will tell you this. I believe they blocked the piss out of freaking the DBs for Austin Peay. I mean, they do a great job blocking, hands down. People going to complain about the holding calls. Well, when you're blocking people for 10 yards down the field and they're getting just freaking abused by wide receivers, I mean, come on now. Some point in time, they're going to be complaining about the being held. And some officials will take that. Take that. I kind of was watching some interviews, and Coach Heupel said he didn't. Somebody asked that question about the holding calls, and he didn't reply. He didn't answer because he didn't want to. He didn't, at the end of the day, he replies about officials. He's going to get fined. Well, I'll just sit here and tell you they weren't very good. You know what I mean? Don't call holding right there because hey, you can call holding on any play. We teach holding as offensive line coaches. If you're not holding, you're not doing your job, and that's when you block, and that's what every position is taught.
Yeah, good stuff. Now, we broke this morning on offthehooksports.com. There was a players only meeting. Let me give you a thumbnail of that. And that basically Joe Milton said, I'll take all the blame. And last week at practice perhaps wasn't as intense as it needed to be. Just what is your take on a players only meeting and kind of what I just shared with you?
I mean, I think Joe Milton's a great leader, but I think more importantly, he's a great teammate. You know what I mean? That's why he's going to be successful. I mean, come on, guys. In 1998, we weren't very good in the first 3 football games. We won close football games. We didn't, and we didn't beat opponents like we should have beat them. But I'll tell you one thing that this team and we did in '98, they got great defense. Let's just be honest with you. Defense will take you a long ways. And I sit here to tell you from experience right now with our football club, we're not great on offense. We run the football really well. We don't throw it necessarily as great as I want to. We have drops, but the one thing is defense will keep you in the football game, and you end up winning the ball game comfortably, right? You didn't win it the way you're supposed to, but you won it comfortably. And you would like to get some more kids in playing in ball games like that and get some more game experience and stuff like that. I understand that 100%, but at the end of the day, it's a win. Ugly, pretty, 101, 100-1, it don't matter. It's a win. And, Tennessee fans, let's just call it how it is. I've been a part of this, and I think we have the greatest fan base in the world, but sometimes I think we have some unrealistic expectations of what we expect out of 18 to 22-year-old kids. Let's just call it how it is. And this is coming from a former player and a football coach dealing with it on a daily basis, what the expectations are for college athletes and high school athletes.
Spencer, talking about whether or not, the whole whether it's a quarterback or receivers, you mentioned the 98 team, and you guys, you're right. I remember when y'all really turned it on. It seemed like the second half of the Georgia game was when you guys really found your rhythm and just never looked back after that. Leading up to that, I remember T. Martin struggling a lot, but was that more a T. Martin thing, or were we missing, like, he and receivers just weren't on the same page, and there were just some things that we didn't really catch that we as viewers?
Well, I mean, I'll just say and tell you, he never started a football game or played much in any football game until 1998. You know what I mean? It's called experience. At the end of the day, experience is the best thing for success. Is when you have experience of seeing those live bullets a day in and day out on the field in front of 102,000 people. I mean, guys, I mean, it was a great atmosphere on Saturday, and it was loud. But I mean, come on now, the experience of Joe Milton is the more he plays, the better he's going to get. You know what I mean? And I believe that. I'm a fan. He's not done anything to tell me he's not the guy.
Yep. And Fred pointed out in that Sunday show with Fred, 0 turnovers in 2 games. So while you may have an inaccurate pass, and we could debate that, as long as you're not turning the ball over, you're not putting your team in a tough predicament.
No, I know that. I know we had 1 turnover as a fumble by a wide receiver, I do believe, trying to gain extra yards. Right. Hey, I don't fault trying to get extra yards. You know what I mean? But you preach ball security, and they're doing a good job with that, man. Joe Milton's not turned the football over, and that's all you can ask for out of your quarterback position. Is don't turn it over, don't put the ball in harm's way. It's us or nobody, and that's the way we look at it as coaches. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I don't. I have a hard time blaming Joe Milton for some of those balls that are not called, for sure.
Very fair. And yeah, I was talking about Milton hadn't had a turnover to this point, which I think is pretty darn impressive. Kind of carrying the tradition that Hendon Hooker did last year, which is phenomenal. The amount of touchdown passes this offense can produce without interceptions. Let's switch to the trenches, which you know well. Tennessee played its second game without Cooper Mays. They're hoping that he can make it back for the Florida game. I've been told that's very questionable. But if they have to go without Coop, what do you think of Ollie Lane to this point?
I think he's been solid. Yeah, I know he gave up a sack Saturday, but hey, man, you play enough snaps in the SEC, you're gonna give up a sack, right? Play enough football, you're gonna give up a sack. It's just gonna happen. You know what I mean? Because you're on an island. Sometimes you're gonna be on an island, and you like to win every one of those, and that's your goal, and that's our goal as offensive linemen is to win all the one-on-ones. But at times, you know, it just doesn't happen. And you know, he's played. I don't know how many snaps he's truly played at Tennessee. You know what I mean? But I know I think I don't know how many starts he's had either. But he's played enough to know. But I think it's his first time really playing center. I do believe, Dave. And so, I mean, hey. You're fighting a 300-pound man with one hand between your leg. You know what I mean? Before you get the snap off and you get your other hand on him, you're playing. You're not in a very good position at that point in time. So you're trying to battle to get back in that great position that you can be in to start the street fight.
Spencer, who else and it's, you know, you take Austin Peay with a grain of salt, but and we've talked a lot at length about Ollie Lane's play. Was there anybody else that kind of shockingly stood out to you on Saturday on the line in the trenches?
Man, and you know, I say this all the time with my guys. I say, if you go unseen and unheard, you probably played a pretty good football game. You know what I mean? And the offensive line play, you know, the only time you get your name calls when you get a holding call. You give up a sack. Let's call it how it is. If you don't hear their name, they've played pretty good. You know what I mean? I thought we ran the football really well as a group. You know what I mean? As an offense, Saturday. You know what I mean? I don't know what Austin Peay was thinking when they're playing. They play 4 guys in a box versus a six man box we had, and we just decided we're going to run the football at them, and you know what I mean. And they just couldn't stop it at times. You know what I mean? At one point, I think we had 17 rushes for 130 plus yards. I think something like that. Sometime right about the fourth quarter, right in the middle of the third quarter. You know what I mean? So I think we try to do some things in this ball game to get us prepared for down the road. I think we threw the ball a little bit more, maybe not. It just seemed like that a little bit because when Tennessee's at their best, when this football team is at their best, they are running the football well. And then the passing game just happens to come about, right? And I still don't know if we truly took a shot down the field to throughout the ball game, a truly deep ball shot. I know we threw a bunch of receiver hit screens and stuff like that, and we got called for some holdings and some PIs on that, which I take with a grain of salt. Go play the next play, go get it back. You know what I mean? It is what it is. That's an effort play to me. You know what I mean? Holding, you're busting your butt and you get called for holding. It is what it is. You can't have the stupid penalties, the unnecessary penalties, the personal fouls, things of that nature, which we are not having at this point in time in the year. You know what I mean? Late hits, things of that nature to keep you on the field as a defense or back you up as an offense there. But in the trenches, I think we're just a solid group. They work hard. I don't see any big superstars at this particular time. Now, look, man, I don't pay attention to draft stock. I don't pay attention to all that stuff. I don't care who the 5-star guy is. As a group, as 5 guys playing as one, I think they're doing a really good job at this point in time of the year.
Wow, Spencer, bringing knowledge. Spencer Riley, former Tennessee center, his brought to you in part by our friends at Apex Apparel Group. Design, brand, market your way. Unique products to promote your business with unparalleled customer service. Go to apexapparelgroup.com, apexapparelgroup.com. You'll be glad that you did. And Spencer, I'm curious what you think of this defensive front, because last year I thought they manufactured pressure with a lot of twists and stunts and blitzes, and they're still doing that. But through player development and some astute recruiting, they're better now, which is
pretty talented.
Yeah, pretty
talented. Pretty talented. Sometimes it comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's guys. You know what I mean? We got some pretty good Jimmys right now. You know what I mean? That are pretty talented, pretty athletic. You know what I mean? I think I seen a stat that we had 12 tackles for loss Saturday at one point in time during a ball game. Come on now. When you're front seven, that's pretty talented. You know what I mean? Anytime you get somebody behind the sticks, you know what I mean, and do those and make them be behind the chains and make them trying to press a little bit more than what they want. And, you know, our defensive line, they're just pretty talented, man. I mean, I watched one of them play the defensive end Pierce. I think it's a Pierce, or I think it's his name, the 27. He freaking takes the left tackle and he dumps him right in the quarterback's lap for a sack. The offensive tackle, left tackle, is the one who gets credit for the sack because he's in his legs. I thought that was one of the most impressive things I've seen in a long time from a defensive lineman at Tennessee. Man, they're just playing hard and playing fast, and they show up in a bad mood when they get there.
I want to jump in here real quick because, Caleb, I know you're about to ask something, but you mentioned Pierce. Fred White, doesn't speak in hyperbole, and he said that his ceiling is Leonard Little.
100%.
Wow.
I would agree with that statement. Wow. He's a thin, long, athletic kid. That's who he reminds me of.
Wow. That's so strong that both of you guys didn't even hesitate. Sorry, Caleb. Go ahead. I just had to get that in there. Wow.
Oh, that's fine. It's if 2 people say that played with Leonard Little, that's pretty impressive. Spencer, what do you think of? Do you think sometimes there's an issue with this team? And I want to give Hypo credit because he stays very patient. He'll sit, if they're going to sell out to get rid of those deep balls, and he'll do this bubble screens and run the ball the whole game if he has to. And do you think the players sometimes, do you see them get a little bit too antsy though, where they're trying to maybe, I don't know, when things spiraled just a little bit against Austin Peay, they didn't keep their composure a little bit?
I mean, when you're going so fast, I mean, you think the first 3 and out probably took 20 seconds of game time.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I mean, come on now. You're like, we went on the field 20 seconds. We're already on the sideline. Come on now, guys. We got to be better than that. And I can see how that gets frustrating, as an offense, especially with the big guys. You know what I mean? I can see that, especially when you had so many drops there. I mean, you had a drop on the first drive, probably to extend the drive. But, I'm like, and I can understand what you're asking and all that good stuff. I apologize. I'm sitting here in the office and the automatic lights just went on.
It's all right.
So I get up and move and I have to get up and move around here. So, but, I get it. And I get what your question was there, Caleb. I mean, it's at the end of the day, You got to just play. You know what I mean? And the game will eventually come to you because your defense is keeping you in the ball game. Let's just be honest. Our defense is going to keep us in the ball game through the whole year, and I'm just telling you that right now. Great group of guys.
I think you're right, and it's interesting to watch this team evolve from last year. That was, again, they ran the football just like you said, and it's a misnomer to say that's just a throwing football team, but it even feels like more of a running football team this year, and a team that has a very vertical defense. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a different team last year, and people need to understand that, right, Spencer? Because they think that it's just 1 year to 1 year is the same group, and it's not.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, this group have spent some time around the offensive staff and been around Coach Gardner long enough and just watch them practice. I mean, they're very aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, when your corner's blowing up the screen before he's almost picked off the wide receiver screen before it's even there. I mean, come on now. At some point in time we're gonna get beat on the hitching out. Okay, but we're playing aggressive. It is what it is, right? We're gonna take our chances and we're gonna play behind the stick. Number 5, the corner. You know what I mean? He gets the PI call right off the bat in the ball game in the first quarter. He comes back and makes 3 negative yard tackles on a screen play, and then breaks up a deep ball. Come on, man. That's what he gets paid to do. I mean, that's what they do. At corners, you're out there on the island. You're going to get exposed sometimes, and sometimes you're going to make some plays. I think he's a freaking pretty good player, man. Just watching, I think our secondary is so much more improved athletically than we have been in years past. And but again, defensive line is where you create your pressure and makes a great pass rush is a great coverage guy. Helps out your coverage for sure.
Great stuff. Spencer, you are the man. You've got the Hamlin tour the next couple of weeks, Morristown, Hamlin, East and West. We're rooting for you, my man. And I can't tell you how much this means for you to join us on Mondays. Thank you.
Man, no problem. I enjoy it. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
I just learned so much from Spencer. Thank you, Spencer.
Well, you're welcome, man. You may not like what I got to say sometimes, but I'll tell you the truth.
I know. That was great stuff. Thank you, man. Have a great day.
Hey, man, y'all have a great day. Talk to you later.